guess I'd pull it right back and make it about character.
Welcome to Before the Weekend, your go-to real estate podcast where we cut through the noise and deliver what truly matters. And I'm Kasey McDonald, and with me this morning is my amazing co-host, Peter Schravemade. How are we, Pete?
I'm really good, Kasey. Good to see you here this morning. It's another Friday in paradise, Queensland, and I'm excited. We've got a big weekend and a big week ahead. It's all happening, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually really excited for our guest this morning. We have the REIQ CEO Antonia Mercorella joining us, of course, talking through Realworks Forms Transition, the LIFT conference, top of the PropTech Pulse. We've got lots to cover with her, so how about we invite her in?
Yeah, that'd be great. Antonia, welcome to Before the Weekend. You're no stranger to this. This is your third appearance, if I'm not mistaken.
Good morning. Third time lucky, maybe.
Yeah. What, you didn't like the other two?
That was had a few practice runs, so I might actually get it right today.
Yeah, right. I don't think speaking publicly or to a camera is outside of your remit. it's
maybe not.
I might be doing that a little bit. Now, I'm delighted to have you on the show this morning because, as I think all of us are aware, being the two of us are purebred Queenslanders, and then we have one ring in from South Australia, who I think is now a Queenslander. I think you've earned your stripes there. Not only did we lose the football on the weekend, but there's been a lot of during the week, but there's been a lot of noise about this issue of forms, and so I thought we'd get you on to clear things up and have a bit of a discussion about that. How are you feeling after? Is it a week and a bit of launch? 10 days since we went live. How are the REIQ staff travelling?
Yeah, it's been just over a week. We launched on Tuesday, the 30th. And look, safe to say that it, I don't think anyone would characterise it as being an ideal way to launch a product. And we knew that was going to be the case. Obviously, launching on the 30th of June, end of financial year, a day before AML laws. And of course, not only was the timing of the launch pretty lousy. There's no other way to characterise it. I think also because of some of the contractual constraints around us, we weren't able to do all of the things you would expect us to do to run a successful launch. And those are things like giving lots and lots of forewarning, putting out a product in market to test, all of those things you would expect. And I've said this a few times now, but, and there's a contract that it has now ended, but has enduring provisions. And being a boring lawyer that I am, we like to follow contractual requirements. So, I think the reality is, Pete and Kasey, people aren't that interested in the why. They're just frustrated, and I understand that. So I'm providing that by way of context because there has been a lot of noise around why on that day, why didn't you let us test it first? So it's really just to provide some context.
Well, can I just clear that up? So you had a contractual obligation that prevented you testing a new product in the market and even talking about it. Is that correct?
Yeah, so basically, because of the contract we were in, again, without going into specifics, we weren't able to put out a competing product. We weren't able to go out and talk about the fact we were going to be putting out, and when I say a new product, just to be really clear, the forms are the same, but what did change is the tech platform we use to deliver the forms. Effectively the software. So because of the licensing agreement we were in, there were a bunch of different contractual constraints that made it very difficult for us to come out and talk about it, to put it out for people to test. And so that's been incredibly challenging. And look, again, as I keep saying, I don't want to make it, at the end of the day, what I know that real estate agents want is to be able to wake up and produce their forms. That's all they're really interested in, right? And it's a challenging time for real estate agents at the moment. So, for me, it was, as the peak body, we spend all of our time fighting for the real estate community, and our main objective is to act in their best interests and to make sure that we keep them compliant and professional. So, this launch for us was a tough one because the last thing we want to do is add to the woes of real estate agents or to make life harder for them. But what I will say is that, and I'm not going to shy away. Obviously, there's been a lot of chatter online. I couldn't even tell you how many users I've spoken to. The team here at the REIQ have fielded literally thousands of calls and tickets. But what I will say is acknowledging the immense frustration that existed around the way we had to launch. I've been overwhelmed by the support. We've got something like it's around 95% of all of our agencies are back on, which is pretty extraordinary in just over a week. And also what's been really fabulous is that people have said, hey, the way you went about launching wasn't ideal, but actually we understand the rationale behind what you're doing. So when we explain the reasons for the shift, our users have been extraordinarily loyal. And so, there's definitely some people out there who are still aggrieved and frustrated, and I acknowledge that. But on the whole, it's been overwhelming to see how supportive the real estate community up here have been.
There's a couple of frustration points. You've covered two of them in there. Why nobody knew about this in the lead up and why you couldn't go to market earlier to prepare people for the fact that this was coming. I understand those. A contract is a contract. We've all been in the profession. We've signed them fairly frequently, so that's there. One of the other frustrations which you've touched on, I just want to make sure is resolved now, was a lot of people were saying to me, the biggest issue is we don't have access to the templates and the data from previous. Now, has that been provided? Is that loaded back into Realworks, and are people able to access it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's been such a critical issue, as we knew it would be. I'm really pleased to report that, we are absolutely, we are confidently resolving that. So we've already started to return data. We had a list of priorities, agents who had reached out with very urgent requirements. We've already returned those historical forms and data to those particular agents, and now we're working through returning it to the balance of the users. So we said we would be in a position to get that back to everyone by mid-July, and we'll follow through on that commitment. Absolutely.
Okay, so mid-July, but if there's something they need urgently, they can contact the REIQ and we can triage that forward. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're continuing to do that. We every day we'll get some agents saying, I need access for urgent requirements, which we totally understand. So we're working through that. So that I think once we get that back to everyone, I think that's going to alleviate a major, the most prominent issue that we've faced, without a doubt. And understandably so. People want their data back and their forms.
A quick follow-up question on that.
Yeah.
Was that an issue that was foreseeable to the REIQ before the changeover?
Yes, absolutely. So to be very clear, we knew that data belonged to us. So to be clear, what I can say without committing any contractual breaches is that that data was always ours, and the customers in Realworks have an agreement with us. The contract is between REIQ and the user, and so we've always had very clear provisions around that so that we can give that back to the customer where it belongs. But what I will say, without going into specific details, is that we encountered some issues in relation to the return of that data, but we have been making our way through that and navigating our way through that, and it's probably all I can say about it publicly.
Okay, well, moving on. I am aware that there are people listening to this, and I've had conversations with some of them who are incredibly frustrated, and I'm hoping I'm hoping that they at least understand some of the constraints around it. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's been like to run a property management division without access to some of the forms, templates, drafts that they've had. And I've heard you multiple times on social media apologize for the way it is unfolding and what is out there. But from what I'm hearing, from what you're saying, we're back on. We're getting to a stage where things should return to where they are. Have you had any feedback about the user interface or the user experience with the new software provider?
No. Well, look, obviously I'm assuming you're referring to, so our former software provider is now a competitor of ours. I'm going to be honest and say I honestly, whether your listeners and viewers believe me or not, hand on heart, I've not looked at it.
No. The question wasn't about Forms Live or Dynamic Methods.
Yeah.
The question was about
Right.
the incoming software company. Have you had any feedback about the user interface and user experience there?
Right. Oh, I see. I beg your pardon. Yeah, look, so what I'd say is I think, so there's a few parts to that. Let me start with, on the positive, I think once we talk people through how to use it, it's pretty simple. We were very clear with our current provider, keep it simple. Real estate agents just want to be able to get in, complete a Form 6 easily, complete a contract easily, and just keep trucking. I think on that side, once people understand how to use it, I think it's working well. The core product works really well. We've definitely had some bugs and issues that we've had to work our way through, and for full transparency, there's still a range of issues that we're aware of that we're working through to continue to improve it, as you would expect, given we only launched just over a week ago. With integrations, that's probably been one of the toughest things. There's again, we launched with 3 of the major CRMs. Few little bugs here and there. There's still some bugs we're working through in respect of one of the PM CRMs, and I'm really pleased to say that as we're filming this, there's about 4 other CRMs that we're working with to integrate with. So and that should be easier because we're out in the open now. We can test more freely. But the integration issue has been definitely a tough one, no doubt about it. But what I would say is we've been working really well with the CRMs to resolve that. What I love about real estate agents is they're not backwards and coming forwards. So it's not like they're not speaking up. They're letting us know where the issues are, where the bugs are, and we're working furiously to restore all of that, so that because I mean the thing about forms is that, and I've always said this, you can't overcomplicate forms. It needs to be simple. The tech can be great in the background, but at the end of the day, real estate agents are they want to get in there. It's how they transact, and they just want it to be simple and easy, few steps. So with a couple of the integrations, what's happened is there's extra steps you need to take. That adds extra time. And so that's causing some frustrations. We've managed to make our way through the majority of those. There's one remaining CRM that we've still got some work to do, and that particular CRM is working really closely with us because we both understand that they're mutual customers of ours. Need to do better. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Antonia, just a question from me. What would you encourage that, any of the principals listening this morning, what should they be really checking inside of their business? And I guess there's probably, 2 questions as a part of this. It's looking at that historical piece as well, because I think last week Pete and I were talking about how we kind of went from a not so much digital world and a reliance on digital before COVID. Yeah. Now we've become incredibly reliant. And then in making this transition, of course, there's frustrations because they couldn't access particular things. So I'd love to kind of get, your thoughts and feedback on what you think principals should be really checking inside of their business.
Yeah, good question. I think, and actually, part of what this new platform is about is to put power back in the hands of the real estate principal. But that's a pretty deep conversation. I don't know that we have time for it. But look, what I would say is we've always known that the forms platform, I see it as being the backbone of the business. That's where you go to every real estate transaction starts with a Form 6. So that's why I am disappointed that we let our users down with the way we had to roll this out. So I think, I just wanted to preface what I'm about to say by acknowledging that. So I would say using a solid, robust forms platform is probably the number one critical thing for a business owner. And that's about using a software, that's about using a form system that has great IT security and cyber security, because that is such an important issue for all real estate businesses in this era. But also using forms that have been tested in court, that are developed with real estate agents in mind, acknowledging that there are some documents in the real estate landscape that are prescribed documents where you could go and get them free of charge off the RTA website, for instance. But using forms that have been developed specifically for agents, that have got those terms and conditions and schedules that recognise bespoke activities. And so, I'm speaking there clearly about the fact that I believe that forms platform, the most reliable and I'm just going to be honest and say, from my perspective, the best forms platform in Queensland is ours. And the reason I say that, and that's not to be arrogant, I say that because we have over 350 forms, and last night we released a new form in our PM suite, and we do that by working with the real estate community. We say to them, tell us what you need. We will develop a form to meet that need. We work really closely with regulators, Office of Fair Trading, RTA, the likes of the Privacy Commissioner, the ACCC, etc., etc. So a good, reliable forms platform is absolutely critical. The next thing I'd say about that is you've got to be really careful about the way you're letting your team use that platform. So I think, again, thinking very carefully about the power you're giving to your team when you give access to that forms platform. So making sure you have good oversight about the way you're using it, about password security, about how you're going to make sure you secure your business, because the reality is that in real estate, people move around, and I couldn't tell you how many times I've heard of a situation where a person leaves a real estate business and takes the database with them, or thinks that the Form 6 belongs to them and not to the agency. So really making sure you've got those sorts of things locked down, I think, are really important. And then I think what's also important is you've got all of these different tech platforms out there, and they absolutely help a real estate business. But equally, I think we've really got to make sure that we're educating real estate agents, and that real estate principals also are aware of how they can control their own destiny. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you've got your business running in a way that if you make a decision that you do want to change, for instance, a CRM, or if you want to insert some new tech into your business, you're able to do that. I see a lot of real estate businesses who get themselves locked into a situation where they feel a little bit trapped, and something comes along that they'd like to try, but they don't necessarily have the skills to do that. They don't have the IT know-how. So I'm not discouraging people from using tech. On the contrary, and Pete, you and I work closely on with the PropTech community. I think there's some great technology out there, but it's really about understanding how you can use that technology to aid your business, but building it in a way that you don't become trapped and controlled by it, and also building your tech landscape in a way that allows you to actually trial other things and be more flexible. And I'm not pretending that I'm that tech guru, but really understanding that you probably need some expertise in that space, so that you can get better at doing that, because I think flexibility is key. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. something like AML. You know, we're just at the beginning of the AML journey. Those laws only just started on the 1st of July. There are a bunch of real estate agents that locked themselves into an AML provider really early on. And that's okay. You had to pick one. But then as time marches on, what we're seeing is that agents are wanting greater flexibility because they want to be able to perhaps change or trial someone else. So I think just understanding that you probably historically have not needed to have in a real estate business someone who is focused just on tech and I guess IT architecture. And I think that's becoming increasingly important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. Last week I separated the two issues. Like there's a software provider for forms and there are the forms themselves. And I've fielded a lot of calls from principals in the last 10 days who are, I think, becoming more aware of how important it is to get the secondary part of that right. Over the first, like you can change your software provider, but if the forms are actually, not what they appear to be or don't allow you to do your business in the way that you wish to be transacting your business, then that is a huge blocker, like has gotten in, could potentially get in the way of sales, could potentially get in the way of you earning your commission if your forms aren't in order. So, I would be urging anyone out there who is using forms today to understand the serious nature of having correct forms. I'd be checking out any that you are moving to, because there are a lot of people in the industry who are uncomfortable at the moment with the direction that they've been given, and some of it's been handed down from franchise bodies. So at the end of the day, I assume that as in your position, you're CEO of a membership body, you don't want to see any of the agents in positions where they're not getting paid for the job that they've done, or they're not in positions where, let's say a form stands in the way of them executing as a professional.
Yeah, it's I'm very conscious that when I respond to this, I may sound like I'm responding out of self-interest, given that we do put out a forms platform. But the interesting thing about the REIQ is we wear so many multiple hats, but at the end of the day, our main role is to be the peak body. So I am absolutely always interested in making sure that real estate agents remain compliant. So when it comes to forms, I absolutely, wearing my peak body hat, think it's critical that you are using compliant forms that meet the statutory requirements and that obviously ensure you're able to get paid at the end of the day, get your commission, as well as getting back your lawful entitlement to reimbursement for costs and expenses. So that's absolutely fundamentally important. And it's a bit analogous to our situation. We're an RTO, we're a registered training organisation. We have the same issue in that space. We've got lots and lots of RTO competitors, and they're entitled to come and compete. But the difference with us is we're an RTO, but we're also the peak body. So it's not transactional for us. Sure, there's a fee in exchange for the course. I'm not saying there's not, but we actually want to educate people to a certain standard, and we want them to be successful and professional when they enter into the profession. So, sometimes we do have to kind of walk this tight rope, because yes, we run a series of businesses here at the REIQ because we need to keep our doors open so we can keep being the peak body and doing advocacy work. But we're genuinely interested in the best interests of the people that we represent. We're always going to be wanting to ensure that agents are using good compliant forms, because at the end of the day, I'm the one sitting in the room with the regulator when the what hits the fan. We're the ones who are defending the real estate community when things turn pear-shaped.
Now let's move on, because I'm conscious that we have not much time with you. You're off to other engagements. Kasey, what are we doing this week? We're all catching up, all three of us.
Well, We are actually. I'm really excited. I think it was a nice segue, actually. You said around the training piece and the other parts that you provide, actually, Antonia, for our industry. And of course, that next week is the LIFT conference. And, I think it's come at a really important time, right? I think we've covered a lot this morning. There's lots of change. There's AML, there's tighter compliance, there's nervousness in the market, right, about what's going on now for, I guess, more probably that selling point. But then I also saw an article actually last night about in a particular area in a week, housing rental prices have gone up $200. So which is kind of scary, right, for the consumer as well. So talk us through LIFT. How did it start?
Yeah, so LIFT, the inaugural LIFT was last year, but this is kind of LIFT version 2, if you like.
LIFT version 2, okay.
LIFT version 2, and it's so we've always been committed to putting on great quality real estate conferences, and this is that. It's 2 days, but obviously we have a really close relationship with the REIQ team. I've been a mentor of the REIQ team for a long time, and then of course we've got PropTech Collab as well happening. And so Pete and I were having a conversation about the fact that REIQ does all of this work with the PropTech community that we get involved in, but we're putting on different events. And so we decided to come together to produce LIFT. So this is an event that's a collaboration between REIQ and REIQ. And so it's got a big tech component, because what we know, as we've been talking about this morning, is that tech is playing such an important role now in the business that is real estate. But real estate agents still feel quite afraid of technology. They're not sure about how to use it. We want to be sure that they're using it in a compliant and legal way. Pete, you and I recently had a conversation about putting out a bit of a best practice toolkit around stuff, because the media is jumping all over this when it goes wrong. So LIFT this year is really about 2 days where real estate agents can come in. There's a lot of bespoke you can go, it's a bit of a build your own program to some extent, depending on the sector you're from. There's lots of different breakouts you can go to. We've got some amazing main stage speaker with a bunch of extraordinary people coming over from the US. And then obviously there's what you would expect at an REIQ conference. There's plenty in there around compliance and legal issues. But throughout the whole 2 days, we've also got this extraordinary tech stage that's happening the whole time, where we've got an array of PropTech speakers and different speakers that touch on topics relating to technology. So it's really about bringing the two together, rather than saying here's a real estate tech conference and here's a real estate conference. Let's bring them together, and it's about trying to kind of break down the fear around technology, and also, really importantly, getting the PropTech community to talk directly with the real estate community, because one of the big issues we talk a lot about is that the PropTech community will sometimes go away and build tech, convinced that there's a problem they need to solve, and maybe that is a problem that needs to be solved, but it's not always the case. But also, you can't be building tech for people without involving the people that are going to be using that tech, and so that's ultimately, I guess, that's the motivation for the way that we've put LIFT together this year.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And from our perspective, the PropTech community has always been interested in working alongside the industry. It's just really difficult because a lot of the real estate institutes rightly have a focus on all of the membership, any kind of lobbying, government and whatever else. It's difficult. Sometimes when we walk into a real estate institute and say, we've got this technology, it's difficult to get care there. But I'm seeing that change across the board. I'm seeing that not just here in Queensland. I'm seeing the work that Jacob Kane Cook, Toby, to an extent, Tim. I know West Australia are committed to it, and we're getting the ACT turning up for this. So, from our perspective, we're working really, really hard to try and get the right kind of tech at the right time for the industry. And one of the holes that I think we discussed is that it's a symbiotic relationship. One doesn't work without the other, and we're really proud of what we're building here in Queensland. The link between the two, and the enormous respect that the REIQ have for incoming tech and the way that you handle it through a vetting process and whatever else. So we've been delighted with that. And can I just say the whole idea of Lift is for application. Like, we have news readers who are going to give tips on piece to camera. We have a drone racing team who are going to give you tips on how to record. There are some really exciting and cool things. I mean, Kasey will be there as well. She's exciting too. So,
I was waiting for the tip.
Of option. Don't forget that.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. Like, myself, in reading the agenda, what really stood out to me, and I think what's a great piece of work that the two of you, as in your two bodies, coming together to put this event on for the industry, is exactly that. Is that everything that was within the agenda is going to allow those in attendance to walk away with not just a notepad of, oh yeah, great, that's what that person spoke about, but real tips, like real advice, and something they can tangibly go back and implement on the same day if they chose to do that. So that's definitely what I picked up in reading the agenda. So well done to the two of you in pulling that together.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. It's funny. I actually looked at the agenda the other day. I'm not. I mean, it's obviously we know what's going to be in there, but you're furiously putting together this agenda, and then you kind of step back from it. And then, having gone back in there the other day, I felt the same way, Kasey. I went, this is a really great agenda, like just such a mixed bag of, of so many things. So I think it's a pretty unique conference. I'm feeling really proud of it. Pete was sort of the courageous one on this one.
Oh God, don't give it any more compliments.
Well, but because conferences are hard work. Anyone who puts a real estate on will tell you that, and there's a lot of noise in this space, lots and lots of conferences, but I do think that this one is rather it's different, I think, to what else is out there.
Yeah, I love the fact that they can create their own pathway across those 2 days, depending on what your role is in the business, but more importantly, where you think you're at in your own self-learning and what is of interest to you to learn more about. It doesn't mean that just because you're in a particular role now, you may be a property manager, but you may have aspirations to be a leader, to step into sales at some point. So for anyone listening, I'd actually would encourage you to kind of also step out of your comfort zone at the event next week and go and listen to something different that you haven't before, because I definitely know you'll learn something.
Nearly 40 speakers. Last time I looked, over 50 tech vendors. It's as far as I'm concerned, I think it's the biggest from that perspective. I haven't been to a conference where I've seen that many tech vendors or that many speakers. So I'm confident. And here's the thing that I'd throw at you. If you're a real estate agent serious about getting your business in order, this is the conference for you. Like this is all about the operational real estate agents who, are about to enter what I think is a bit of a difficult time selling. And this would be the way. Take 2 days out of your time to gear yourself up and get ready. But Antonia, we are out of time with you. I know you're a very busy lady. Can I thank you again for coming on Before the Weekend podcast? We'll see you Tuesday or something like that.
Yeah,
right.
If not before, thanks, bye.
Thank you so much. Have a fantastic Friday.
See you later.
Also, as a part or at the conclusion of the Lift conference, we've also got something really, really exciting. And I saw that you have announced your finalist of Top of the Props. So you've got, is it five or six finalists?
Six, I think. There's six finalists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So every year we run this pitch battle. It's to try and unearth new or emerging technology, maybe technology that real estate agents or those in the property industry haven't heard. And this year we've got 6: Crayon CRM, Dweller is there, Home Snoop, Parkbooker, RealZilla, and Recruit RE. And there's 3 on that list that I was peripherally aware of. One of them, I think. But there's some really interesting technology in there, and it's completely diverse. None of it's in the same category. But what this does is it's kind of like the pitch battle is a time thing. So they've got less than 4 minutes to pitch at you. If they go over 4, they get cut off. And they did get cut off last year. 2 of them got cut off. So it is high pressure. It's really difficult to pitch your product in under 4 minutes. They get to use obviously a presenter, a slideshow presentation, and do that. And then there's 4 independent judges who pick them. So even though this is a Reach Australia and New Zealand event, we're pretty big on having people that aren't attached to us do the judging. So we've got Antonia, we've got Ines Hegadas Garcia, and she's coming from Miami. We've got Ash, or Cullum Ashton is his actual name, but Ash is like the legend over in WA who wrangles all the prop tech from there. And we have Peter, who is another Peter, who runs another accelerator representing the venture capital world. So we've tried to incorporate a wide range of independent judges, and they will judge that. But I think the vitally important thing is the PropTech collab that we didn't get a time to talk about with Antonia. We've set up an independent research or think tank, and we've got the survey results back, and we've put that into a white paper which talks about the future of PropTech in Australia. And importantly, the takeaway for any of the property professionals is how we are looking at moving forward as an industry. The state of the PropTech market gives them also some clarity in going in, selecting providers as to what do we do and how do we do it. So I'm excited about that. I know there are tickets available for both. So both the REIQ Lift and Top of the Props, you can get the tickets for REIQ Lift from reiqlift.com and topoftheprops.com.au. They're both available on there, and we'd love to see you if you get a chance. I think you might be coming down, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
With that, with the Pulse report, how can people get a copy of that?
Yeah, that'll be released at proptechcollab.com. And that'll be released at midnight after this. So that's available from there, and it's free. You just have to put your name and an email address in, so it can send you the link and you can download it. But that information's free. It's currently sitting at 31 pages, so a great bedtime reading. It'll put you to sleep. But you can download that digitally. We'll try and have some hard copies there available. But yeah, if you're not able to get to Brisbane for next, 15th, whatever day that is, by all means download it. We've done this free. We've put this together. Antonia and I worked really hard on getting these findings out, getting the survey respondents in, and getting the findings out as a free offering to the industry.
Yeah, great. No, really looking forward to it. And we've spoken before the fact that you don't need to be a tech provider to just come along to Top of the Props. It's also about showcasing what technology is out there. So those within the industry working at the coalface, make sure you jump online and grab a ticket and be there, because you get to see what's up and coming, but you also get to network with those other suppliers that are also there and learn about what they've got to offer as well.
Yeah. Let's move on. A lot of Queensland noise this week, so we should move to other news blocks. And we've got government saying they want affordability, but taxes, charges, delays, and compliance costs are embedded in the price of new housing. We've discussed new housing quite a bit. There's an article out where Noel Whittaker's piece argues that we're talking about landlords' negative gearing and greedy investors, but we don't talk enough about the cost that governments have built into housing. And actually, in this article, which I'll put in the notes or the transcript at the bottom of the transcript, it talks about the huge amount of government charges. He's gone through and listed all the charges involved in building a house, and it is insane. It is absolutely insane. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think every
Take them all
single
out.
time, exactly right. But it's like every single time we kind of, lean into a topic and talk about anything that the government's brought into place, it just seems to be that there's all these hidden aspects to it. It's like they're just sharing this, little aspect, and then you dive deeper and there's either an additional cost or there's a new, oh no, that actually meant that, right? So it's not like we're getting all of the right information. But yeah, I still just don't think at all that they're really talking about the right things here as a government. It's like we want to build new housing for a supply piece, but really now we're kind of leaning back into affordability again, right? Like if it's costing so much to do it, will people build?
Yeah. Well, this article, the staggering part of this. So this Noel Whittaker article, if you're wondering, it's at the Courier Mail. It actually says the HIA, which is the Housing Industry of Australia, research behind this is stark. It says 576,000, or about half the cost of a new house and land package in Sydney. This is Sydney, is government taxes and regulatory costs and charges. I mean, that is nuts.
Yeah.
If you told me that I was going to build a house, and I've already discussed the costs that I've gotten building a house in central Queensland and how astronomical they were, and I was just nuts straight away. If you told me that to put up a house and land package in New South Wales and I would have costs of over $500,000, like pushing 600,000, what value is in that for me? What can you imagine the damage to the market if they took those taxes out tomorrow too? Like all of a sudden, people would be building houses for literally cost. The government would lose a stack of money. So I think our federal, state, local have gotten us into a big pickle that we can't necessarily solve for, because to remove that amount of money in the new housing and the damage that would do for the current stock and the pricing, the valuations on that, maybe that's what needs to happen. That's not going to be a popular conversation. Like imagine me telling you and Ahi own a house, that all of a sudden 50% of that, somebody coming in today could build that for 50% less than what you purchased it for. It'd be very difficult.
Yeah, look, there's a housing infrastructure that's just getting built up the road from us, and I think that those homes started at about 1.1, and within our area, existing dwellings are probably going for between 1.2 and 1.3, and some above that, right? But we've got some friends who have been looking, and they were looking there and to build, and the cost of now to build in that is now onwards of 1.3. So in a matter of 12 months, still with vacant land available to buy and to build on, the prices have gone up that much. And so it's just pushing them out of the market. And they say to me all the time, we just keep having to save. Like we're saving and saving and saving, and we get to a point and we try to go, and then we can't go, and then the prices are gone again. So and again, they're saying all their hidden costs. They'll go in and they'll say, oh, now there's this cost, or now there's this cost. So they're like, oh well, we're just going to be renting now forever.
It's a bleak sight, and I know you're aware. We both have children that are getting to the age where they may be looking to do things like that. I've got two pushing kind of that basket now, and my advice to them at the moment would be just wait. And I suppose that's a good segue to the next article. And now, look, I really dislike bringing news.com.au articles because they tend to be very, very clickbaity. Christopher Joy is warning Australia could be facing one of its largest house price corrections on record, with Sydney reportedly falling 12% annualised rate on recent data, and Melbourne falling at double-digit annualised rate. Now, look, Melbourne was falling before the tax. I was looking to buy in Melbourne. I was looking to buy because it was incredibly affordable in certain areas. Let's go 2-bedroom units within 1 kilometre of the city in Melbourne are cheaper than any other capital city. So I'm aware that they were falling, and that is on the back, I believe that is squarely on the back of what the Victorian government and the disincentives to actually invest down there in the wake of Dan Andrews and Jacinta Allen. And hopefully the Victorians who are listening might be able to sort that for us out at the end of the year, or themselves, because the rest of the states are looking at them going, what the hell is going on? And don't forget to, just a shout out, I had Toby Ballatz on a quick bite recording. You should have a good listen to what he said, because he's only newly in the hot seat, and he is absolutely punching to try and get Victorian property professionals' rights heard in the raft of changes, which we've got a few coming that we're talking about today. But what do you think? Do you think he's right or wrong in that we're facing a massive price correction? Is it sensationalist?
Yeah, look, I don't know that it's going to be this massive. I think we're going to get to a point where it probably does start to probably normalise a little. But I think it's, like you said, Melbourne market, has already been falling. I think what we've seen, though, is what we spoke about last week more, is that the buyers are being more patient. They're kind of sitting back and kind of watching a little now, right, as to what's going to go on. I still just feel that there's just too much uncertainty, but we now have to be those agents that know how to talk, set expectations right, not create panic, but we've got to be that agent that does that now. We've got to know how to do our job incredibly well. In this type of market, and we can't just rely on the desktop or the fact that vendors and buyers are just immediately ringing us, or that we've got a massive list of them waiting at the front door. So I think now's the time where we're going to see probably also maybe an exodus of those agents that aren't operating correctly in market.
Yeah, probably. More than likely, I think that's already started. But the other thing that I'd throw on the back of this is everyone talks about the housing market like it's just Sydney and Melbourne. Brisbane's still rising. Southeast
100%.
Queensland's
And
still
so is
rising.
Perth.
Slowly. Adelaide is still rising. Tasmania's still rising. Like they're all up.
Northern Territory. Yeah.
There is enough. There's enough information to suggest that a lot of regional areas are still rising as well. So, on the whole, Australia is still rising in prices. The market slowed on the back of the confidence, and I don't think it's just the buyers. I think there are a lot of sellers out there that are not confident putting their house on the market because of the amount of media and noise around confidence issues and what that's doing to the market. We'll move on.
No, totally agree.
Let's move on to the next one. So this is an interesting one for you and me, and I think we're very qualified to talk about this. The Bank of Mum and Dad's retreats. So we've heard about the Bank of Mum and Dad's for years. A lot of real estate agents it is a static thing. They get these people buying, and there is a guarantor somewhere around there of either a parent or both parents who are backing them getting into the market. But, the hidden support, the loan market data reported by the Australian shows that the share of new homeowners using a family guarantee fell 6.41% in February to 3.8% in June, which is like, we look at that and we go, that's only 3%. That's a hell of a lot of them that are no longer there. What do you reckon's happening?
Oh, look, I also think, they're sitting back kind of waiting and wanting clarity. But I think as well, there's lots going on from a retirement planning perspective. It's kind of looking at what risk is now involved in us doing that. What are the tax potential implications if we had to do that also? So I think, there's probably many parents out there that have got that equity within their homes to support that decision and to get their children into the property market. But I think they're going, what does that actually now mean for us? Probably also as well, what will it then mean for them? We spoke last week about the government giving the 5% first home buyer, and now a lot of those are actually sitting on negative equity, right? And so how does that actually impact what you might then do for your own home as a parent? So, I think there's lots of questions that are still unanswered, and maybe that's why we've seen such a drop-off rate.
Yeah. Well, I think cost of living gets thrown in there too. I don't
absolutely.
think that's the 3% change, but a lot of uncertainty. Like if you were a parent today and you were considering putting yourself in that position, because don't forget, a lot of this guarantor means that you might be leveraging money against your house. I don't think most parents have $100,000 sitting there that they can throw at Johnny or Sue who are about to buy a house. I actually think they're doing that using the equity that they've built into their own properties, which creates this double leverage. Then if your son or your daughter or whoever it may be is buying at the top of the market, it is definitely a vote of confidence, because that money that you've just put in, you lose a share of that as well. So I think mums and dads are now looking at the property market going, well, maybe we should sit back on this. But it's a thing. I think it's going to continue.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's about, for those, anyone listening who've maybe thinking that they're at that stage that they need to do that to support their children. It's really important that you get that right financial advice. Go and speak to brokers and your financial planner about how you should be setting up your mortgage structures for those types of situations as well. Because I know there are many people that get caught out in not having that right structure set up. So when you as a parent then go to sell and you think this is great, I'm going to retire, unfortunately, there could be money tied up elsewhere that doesn't allow you to extract what you need. So get
Yep.
that advice.
Yep. Now we'll move to our regulatory block. I've got a couple of mentions at the end of today, but we'll move to regulation. New South Wales Fair Trading prosecution against Netstrata. Now we actually had an article, I think it was way back in our first episode, where we were talking about the fact that there were strata title managers recorded getting kickbacks, and from memory that came out of Victoria. But this is an article released by New South Wales Fair Trading where they've commenced criminal proceedings in the Supreme Court against Netstrata and its director and licensee in charge. I won't mention the name, but the allegations include breaches of statutory obligations, fiduciary duties, conflicts of interest, related party service providers, undisclosed financial benefits, and false and misleading information. I mean, they're all allegations, so not proven. But they've moved against them. I mean, is strata title, is that becoming the next major frontier for trust? And do we need to gut the space? I'm sure there are some good operators out there, Kasey.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think though they've probably been the quiet ones that are probably not as noisy and loud within, I guess, our industry as we are, I suppose, as real estate agents compared to those of strata. But you do probably, I've sat on owner corporation meetings myself, and they are, typical mum and dad. They don't have some of that understanding like we do on the day to day, and they typically go into these types of environments kind of at the end of their careers, and they've been in other careers, right? And so I think different types of arrangements that they've got in place, the financial benefits, and all of that understanding of what they can and can't do. I don't think maybe there's a level of understanding or potentially training. And I don't know, I haven't been in there, but I've just sat on some of the meetings and the types of questions that they do ask. There's certainly not of the level, I don't believe, as to what the types of training that we do get within the real estate sector, I guess, from that piece. So potentially it could be that next piece where the Office of Fair Trading are going to go in at each state now and start to actually uncover how strata is designed and how they're operating.
Yeah, well, the body corporate's one thing, and that's where a lot of the mums and dads sit. But this is the actual strata operators who are then employed. So normally you'll get them in a site over 50 or maybe even over 30, and you've got 30 owners who are potentially not looking at what's going on underneath them.
Correct.
You've got an inexperienced
because they don't know
board.
what to ask, right? Yeah.
Yep, you've got an inexperienced board that you were referring to. And the strata title manager is, it's kind of one of those things you don't want to hear from them. When you hear from them, it's a bit like the way some landlords treat property managers. Like if they're calling me, there's an issue with my property. Can't you just take care of that yourself? That's a bit. That's the way I feel it is, especially with the apartments that I've owned. And every time I hear from the body corporate, it's either a complaint about the tenant or it's there's some kind of action on my behalf that I need to put forward. So I think they're a kind of unwanted, not unwanted, but we don't want to have a lot of contact with our strata title, and I think a lot of them have used that to fly under the radar and do things that are potentially not in the best interests of themselves or the people they represent. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I think it's choosing those right suppliers, and like you said, you don't want to hear from it. You just think, okay, that's fine. I'm paying those fees. They're going to look after it for me, and then you might have that kind of manager or that voice. But again, what are the disclosures in place? And maybe that's the first piece, right? It's kind of getting under the hood, lifting it up, having a bit of a review of how they do operate and what are some of those potential conflicts that might be in place.
Yeah. We've got two more regulatory ones, three actually. There's two from Victoria. So Victoria Consumer Affairs has fined 3 real estate agents for failing to advertise rental properties with a fixed price. This seems pretty straight ahead to me. Actually, I read the press release in full. Consumer Affairs Victoria used some pretty harsh language. Like, I don't know whether that's intentionally, but they, the press are read to be quite aggressive on this. And then the other one that I've seen the agents talking about, like I think the rental pricing is probably something that we don't need to dwell on. I don't necessarily agree with it, but it's in that is the regulation. And if you're not adhering to that, you probably, they're going to be looking to go out and make an example of someone. And it seems like they have. The bigger issue, especially when I spoke to Toby Ballatz the other day on the Quick Bite recording, which you need to listen to, was the Section 27 changes. Now, Section 27's not exciting at all, part of that contract there, but what it affects is the early deposit release, which aids vendor cash flow, and mostly it's also impacts commission timing. So the REIV summary of the Consumer Legislation Amendment Bill says the bill proposes to repeal the Section 27. Now, Toby, we've put that up in the link of Toby's call. He's asking all real estate agents in the area in Victoria to write to their MPs and the shadow MPs and let them know that they're not a fan of it, because probably the person that's going to hurt the most is the actual seller in the transaction who can't fund what they're moving to next because of the early release of that deposit. So that's an interesting one. Do you have any take on that?
No, but I just want to probably pass one comment around that rental pricing piece, if I can. If you look at that, there's different legislation pieces across all of the states, and yes, it'd be nice if we all ran the same, but we don't. But I'd like to throw a question probably out there in regards to the portal. It's because the portal's out there that if we know that that you cannot advertise a price without it being fixed, why do we allow for them to go live with either a zero amount or nothing in there or a range? Why do we allow that to occur?
It's a very good point, but potentially it may not be on either of the portal's websites. It could be on the actual agents themselves.
It could be, absolutely. Could be on their website, 100%. But I think, I'd like to definitely kind of put it out there to say that there's, yes, there's a training element to this as well. From the staff, the principals absolutely should know what's going on within their business, and their teams should be well trained to know they shouldn't do this. But I'd also like to make sure that the systems and the tools that we have available in our industry, that they're complementary of what our legislation is as well.
Yeah, well, New South Wales has had changes to the way that they're allowed advertise properties for sale, and I notice people are looking at, so for example, offers over. Like I saw an advert that said offers over. It's against the regulation in New South Wales. So, you're really just encouraging them, the regulatory bodies to clamp down on you. So,
correct.
I mean, you may not like it. There is another way to fight it if you don't want to do it, and that's to get involved at the REIs and get lobbying. We got one more, which I have seen popping up, not necessarily through the agents. I think the agents don't like this, but they're dealing with it. But it's in New South Wales rent reforms and failed sale reletting issue. So New South Wales landlords now need a specific ground to end a tenancy, and they're saying that it applies to all tenancies. So the article I saw, and I actually don't know if this is correct, was where a landlord ended a tenancy to put the property on the market. The property didn't sell, and he is saying that he needs to write to the New South Wales Office of Fair Trading in order to relet that because he's ended a tenancy. So I don't know what is going on there, but that sounds totally bizarre to me. What do you do with that? Do you leave that property vacant? And how is that helping your supply and demand issue? Like, that doesn't make sense. A landlord should be able to transact that property whenever they can.
Well, yeah, I think, obviously there's been many changes around ending a tenancy across many of the states, right? And I think there's prescribed reasons as to why. And selling, of course, I think is approved and is allowed. And in this instance, if it didn't sell, I don't understand why they then wouldn't be able to re-advertise the home to find a suitable tenant to go back in if that was the case. So if this is true, I find it incredibly bizarre.
Yeah, and probably the other thing just in line with this is I really think sales agents who are advising an owner to sell probably need to do a property management tenancy termination check. Because if you've advised your landlord or the owner to sell, and they somehow end up in hot water. Oh, I don't know who's responsible for that. Probably the owner,
Yeah.
but I don't think they're going to be very happy with you. So it's not a scenario that you want to get into. So that's probably worth a check as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Look,
I don't know that we should be also, and we don't know what happened here, but if we're kind of
No.
thinking, oh, let's just, if that owner has said, oh, can we just kind of put it on the market and test the market as an example, that could have been a scenario that's happened here. And so probably as sales agents as well, we should be making sure that we're offering the right advice as to whether or not that's exactly how the property should be going to market and what implications it could have on that vendor if they went down that path.
Absolutely. We've got some quick fire ones that I'm just going to talk about that we won't get a
Mhm.
chance to discuss. An agent caught for DUI. I'm not going to go into that in Queensland here. We have obviously AML, live and real. So if you're not aware of that, get in contact with your REI because they're all over it. The one that we touched on last week, which was the SMS Sender ID registration. So if your agency's sending branded SMS messages, check the new SMS Sender ID rules. ACMA says all businesses and organizations need to register sender IDs before July 1. That's not 10 days ago now. And unregistered IDs will show as unverified. I'm getting a raft of people
Yeah, me too.
texting me saying that ours are now verified, and so it's actually happening. And the only other thing that I would throw to you is an interesting article from Mike DelPrete. That's DelPrete. And he's talking about portal versus portal, so REA versus domain, Zillow versus CoStar, Rightmove versus challenges. It's well worth a look. So he's got a great way of framing the portal wars. He's the guy that reported on, I guess, CoStar's move down here, the fact that the REA is one of the most profitable in the world. Well worth a look at his article. I'm going to put it in the list of things to do. But from you and I, we have a massive week ahead. Are you excited about where we're going?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one, I've got an awards night to celebrate my husband and his fantastic career on Saturday. So for the first time ever, I get to go to an awards night and get fancy dressed up and drink the champagne without having to present an award or be working. So I'm really excited. But more importantly, to celebrate him. And then, of course, what we have on next week. Super excited. I can't wait to meet some of those fantastic speakers that we've got coming over from America. And, of course, just networking with all of the fabulous people in our industry.
Yep, we're looking forward to it. If you're in the area of Brisbane, we'd love to see you. We'd love to catch up. Come and say g'day. Let us know the feedback on the podcast, what you like and what you don't like. Tell Kasey what you don't like. Tell me what you like.
And hey, if anyone is coming to the event, make sure you do grab us. We will be doing little, quick fireside chats for those who, may be interested in coming on and being a guest on our podcast.
Yeah, that'd be great. And to all of the agents who are going out there today, putting directional signs up, getting ready for the weekend, getting ready to sell, list, whatever it is that you might be doing, working, sellers, working purchases for sellers. We really hope you have a great weekend, a very successful weekend, wishing that for you. And until next week on Before the Weekend, this is Kasey and Peter signing off. Enjoy your week.
Yeah, happy weekend, everyone.